don't fight. You just say. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. قال جل وعلا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. قال جل وعلا شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. Respected ulama, mashayikh, brothers, sisters, little ones. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. After praising the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending salutations upon our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I begin as always by first thanking you, my host, for giving me this opportunity to convey the message of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I pray to the Almighty Allah that Allah accepts these efforts of yours in listening to this message, as I pray to the Almighty Allah that Allah accepts these efforts of mine in trying to deliver the message of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as it was revealed upon our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam over 1400 years ago in its true and pure form, without changing and without diluting the message of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My young friends, there's definitely no shortage of gas in Bolton, in spite of the war. May Allah keep it like that. I'm going to share with you today, my young friends, whatever the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam shared with his companions with regards to the blessed month of Ramadan. He delivered his sermon in the month of Sha'ban. This is the month of Sha'ban. So following in the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I'm going to share with you the exact same advice that the Prophet ﷺ shared with his companions before Ramadan commenced. So this is why I have this book with me. The hadith is narrated by Sayyidina Salman Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He says, خطبنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في آخر يوم من شعبان فقال يا أيها الناس قد أظلكم شهر عظيم مبارك شهر فيه ليلة خير من 1000 شهر شهر جعل الله صيامه فريضة وقيام ليله تتوا إلى آخر الحديث. This hadith has been narrated by a companion called Sayyidina Salman Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Before I begin the hadith, let me just introduce you to Sayyidina Salman Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. There are many lessons that we can learn from Sayyidina Salman Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Sayyidina Salman was from Persia and from amongst the near and dear companions of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Like it's so near and dear, my friends, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Sayyid Salman minna ahlul bayt. And when did the Prophet ﷺ say this? Balki, it was Sayyidina Salman at the time of the Battle of Khandaq. You know, when all of the Arabia united against the Prophet ﷺ and surrounded Medina al-Munawwara, and they were coming, the Prophet ﷺ consulted the Sahaba as to how we should defend ourselves. At that time, Sayyidina Salman al-Farsi radiallahu ta'ala suggested that we should dig a trench. And the Prophet ﷺ acted upon his advice. Well, prior to this, the Arabs did not know about this type of defense. So at that time, when the Prophet ﷺ divided the Sahaba in groups to dig the trench, the Muhajirin said to Sayyidina Salman, "Oh Salman, join us." Whereas the Ansar said, oh Salman, no, come and join us. You are from amongst us. This is when the Prophet ﷺ said, Salman minna ahl al-bayt. Salman is no from the Muhajirin, no from the Ansar. He's from the Prophet. He's from the family of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. What more great honor can anyone receive bigger than this? Now the Prophet ﷺ is acknowledging you. Not only is he acknowledging you, he's acknowledging that you are part of his family. What great honor can anyone receive bigger than this? You and I, my young friends, are the ummatis of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look at the connection. There is no connection bigger and better than this, than being connected to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is the only connection that will benefit you in the dunya, guaranteed. But okay, my young friends, if I start talking about the benefits that we've received just because of our connection with the Prophet ﷺ in dunya, then unfortunately we will be here till Fajr, and whatever's been advertised will not have even been touched. And this is the only connection that will benefit you in terms of the akhirah. Because when the Prophet ﷺ on the day of judgment prostrates before Allah, he intercedes. And Allah accepts his intercession. He will say, Ya Muhammad, go to Jahannam. And take out any person that has iman equal to the weight of a barley seed. And the Prophet ﷺ will take them out. Prophet ﷺ will intercede for a second time. And this time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, oh Muhammad, go to Jahannam and take out from Jahannam anyone that has iman equal to a mustard seed. Prophet ﷺ will intercede for the third time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, oh Muhammad ﷺ, go to Jahannam and take out anyone with iman even equal to the lightest mustard seed. This is the benefit of having this connection with the Prophet Muhammad. This is just for an ordinary believer. Can you imagine the strength of a connection in which the Prophet ﷺ acknowledges you are from amongst his household? Sayyidina Salman received this honor. You know, some of us might not be able to comprehend. Let me give you an example. You know, in the dunya, you and I buzz off having a powerful connection. Isn't that so? You see people like Ronaldo, what do you want? Straight away you take your mobile phone and you'll ask for a photo. Okay? And then you'll show it to the whole world. Look at my connection with Ronaldo. I was with Ronaldo. And you buzz off that. That sends you to seventh heaven. By the grace of Allah, you know, as students, we used to buzz off. But again, we still buzz off to this day, being connected to Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Muqtada Sahib. But again, you know, as students, we used to buzz off just this fact that, you know, if Hazrat ever looked at us, I swear by Allah, it revived our iman for a year. It sent us to seventh heaven. Yeah? And if Hazrat ever sent us to do something, we tell all our friends, all our associates, Hazrat told me go do this, Hazrat told me go do this. We would see this as an honor, you know, this, that, you know, we've got this qurb with Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Muqtada. Can you imagine having this connection? Hazrat, mashallah, was on a level. Okay? You and I consider the Ronaldos of the world on a level. My friends, there is no level greater than the level of the Prophet Muhammad. There is no level greater than the level of the Prophet Muhammad. You have La ilaha illallah, and with it you have Muhammadan Rasulullah, second to the Almighty Allah. You will buzz off this connection in the dunya, and you will buzz off this connection in the akhirah. Salman minna ahlal bayt. The love this individual had for deen was phenomenal. And I can't explain this hadith without sharing with you the love that he had for the deen and how he sacrificed his life searching the truth. Sayyidina Salman radiallahu ta'ala himself narrates this incident, how he declared the kalima and how he was guided by Allah to the truth. Now he was from Persia. He lived in he says, I was from the province of Asfahan, in a place called Jay, from a place called Jay, small place called Jay. Now they were fire worshippers. It was a very religious family. His father was the leader of that area. He says, we worked hard at our religion, so much so that I received this honor of becoming the caretaker of the temple. So I used to look after the temple, clean the temple. He says, one day, my father sent me for some work. He said, I happened to pass by a church. I looked at the church, I saw the church, I entered the church. I saw the Christians worshipping inside the church. I liked their worship so much. And I was so influenced by their worship and the beauty of their worship that I forgot what my father sent me for, and I stayed there till the evening. I've come home late. My father asked me, where have you been all this time? So he said, I mentioned the church and the Christian worship and how I got this inner peace inside this place of God. So he said, my father said to me, they're not on the haq. That is not a good religion. Your religion and the religion of your forefathers is the best religion. I said, no. That religion seems better than our religion. He says, my father feared that I'm going to run away. So what he did was, he tied my leg to a chain and locked me inside the room. Sayyidina Salman says, I already had asked the Christians where their capital is in terms of their religion. And I told them, when the traders come from Sham, because their capital was in Sham, when the businessmen come from Sham to our land, traders used to come, I want you to inform me. So when the traders and businessmen came to their place, he broke the chain and he left. And he's only a child. He left. He went to Sham. And when he got to Sham, Syria, he asked with regards to the most knowledgeable person in this deen. So he says, a bishop was pointed out to me. He said, this bishop, I embraced Christianity at his hands. I related my story and I asked him if I could stay in his service and make khidmat and learn the deen at the same time. He agreed. He says, but this bishop wasn't a good man. What he would do is, he would encourage people to give sadaqah, charity. But he wouldn't give it to the poor, he'd keep it for himself. He says, anyway, I stayed in his service. He died. After this, another bishop was appointed in his place. This bishop was a good man. He had no interest in the dunya. His fikr was the akhirah. I stayed in his service. When this second bishop was on the point of death, I asked him, who should I go to after this? So this bishop told me, now there's only one person that's on this deen, that follows the right deen. And this person, you'll find him in Mosul in Iraq. You should stay in his service and learn the deen from him. So he says, when this bishop died, I traveled to Iraq, to Mosul. I found this bishop. I related my story to him. I stayed in his service and made khidmat. He says, like this, when this bishop was on the point of death, I asked him, who should I go to after this? He says, this bishop in Mosul told me, now there's only one person left that follows this deen. You'll find him in a place called Nasibain. You should go and stay in his service. So he says, when this bishop of Mosul died, I went to this place in Nasibain, I looked for this bishop, I related my story, I asked him if I could stay in his service, he allowed me. He says, now when this bishop, years are passing by like this, years are passing by like this. He's moving from one bishop to another. When this bishop in the Sebain was on the point of death, I asked him, who should I go to now? He said to me, now there's only one person left that follows this deen, and you'll find him in a place called Ghamuriya. And you should stay in his service. So he says, when this bishop of the Sebain died, now I make my way to Ghamuriya looking for this bishop. He says, in Ghamuriya, I met this bishop, I related my story, I stayed in his service, but at the same time I did a little bit of work. As a result, I accumulated some mal, I purchased some cattle, I purchased some sheep. He says, when this bishop in Ghamuriya was on the point of death, my friends, these people are dying and Sayyidina Salman is living. Because according to some scholars, he lived for 300 years. Now the reason I mention this is, look how many years these people are dying, one after the other. The bishop in Sham has died. The one after has also died. Then he sent to Mosul. That one has also died. Then from Mosul he's moved to Nasibain. That one's also died. From Nasibain he's moved to Ghamuriya. That one has also died. So before he died, he said to him, now there is no one that follows this deen. Now the time has come for the last and final prophet to appear. And this prophet will appear and be born in Arabia. He will follow the deen of Ibrahim. He will migrate to a place where there will be plenty of date palms. On either side of this place, the soil will be stony. He mentioned that this prophet does not eat from sadaqah. This prophet will accept gifts and eat from there. And you will find the seal of prophethood between his shoulders on his back. If you're able to go to Arabia, go and meet this prophet. He says, I stayed in his service when he died. Some traders from Arabia, from the tribe of Banu Kalb, passed through our place. And I said to them, that if you take me to Arabia, I will give you these cattle and I will give you these sheep. Just take me to Arabia. They agreed. Says, I got to Arabia, Makkatul Mukarramah. I gave them their payment, the sheep, the cattle, but they wronged me. They sold me as a slave. And I was purchased by a Jew from the tribe of Banu Qurayza in Madinatul Munawwara, and I was taken to Madinatul Munawwara. He says, when I got to Medina and saw the date palms and the soil, it clicked. This is the place the Bishop of Ghamuriya was referring to and giving ishara of. I stayed there. See, the Prophet ﷺ, when he migrated from Makkah to Madinatul Munawwara, the Prophet ﷺ was in Quba. Whatever I had, I took and I offered it to the Prophet ﷺ and said, this is sadaqah. Prophet ﷺ didn't eat anything from that sadaqah, he gave it to the Sahaba. I said, in my heart, one sign has been fulfilled. He says, on another occasion, I took a tray of dates to the Prophet ﷺ, and I said, oh Muhammad, this is a gift from me to you. He says, the Prophet ﷺ gave it to the Sahaba, but at the same time, the Prophet ﷺ also ate from it. And in my heart, I said, a second sign has been fulfilled. He says, on another occasion, the Prophet ﷺ was in Jannatul Baqi. He was participating in a janazah. He was sitting there with the Sahaba. I made my way to the Prophet ﷺ. I went behind him. He said, the Prophet ﷺ immediately understood as to why I've gone behind. Prophet ﷺ had a chadar, he removed the chadar, removed the garment, and I saw the seal of prophethood between the shoulders of the Prophet ﷺ, and I lowered my head and I began to kiss the seal and I began to cry. So the Prophet ﷺ told me to come in front of him. I came in front of the Prophet ﷺ and I related my entire story. How for years, I've been searching for the truth, and today Allah has blessed me with the truth. And he declared the kalima on the hands of the Prophet ﷺ. He says, after this I stayed in the service of my master. One day the Prophet ﷺ told me to make an agreement with him. Become a mukatab. Mukatab is a slave that purchases his freedom from his master for a particular amount that they agree upon. He approached his master agreed, but he put on 2 strict conditions. First condition that he put on was that you will have to give me 40 uqiyah of gold. 40 uqiyah, never mind in those days, it's a substantial amount today. Ulama write that 1 uqiyah is around 3 to 4 grams. So you can just imagine how much, if not even more, I can't recall. But it's a substantial amount. But 1 uqiyah I think is about 120 grams. 120 grams. 40 uqiyah, how much would that be? It's a substantial amount today. The second condition that he put was that I've got to plant 300 date palms and then take care of them till every single one of them bear fruit. Now, how many years that will take? He says the Prophet ﷺ on one occasion received some gold from someone. He called me, "O Salman, here, take this gold and go give it to your master." He says, when I saw this gold, I said, "Ya Rasulullah," Salman was thinking in his heart and mind, this is just small amount of gold. What I owe is a lot more. This will not be sufficient. So I said, "Ya Rasulullah, will this amount be sufficient? Because I owe a lot more." The Prophet ﷺ said, "It will not surprise me if Allah puts barakah in it and Allah takes care of your need through this gold. It will not surprise me." Sayyidina Salman took the gold, and just like the Prophet ﷺ said, it took care of his needs. And he said, with regards to the date palms, he said the Prophet ﷺ himself, with his blessed hands, planted the date palms. Every single one of them bore fruit in the same year except for one. And when they looked into the matter, they saw that the one that didn't give fruit was planted by none other than Sayyidina Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And then the Prophet ﷺ himself planted that one again, and it gave fruit. And surprisingly, when the Prophet ﷺ planted the date palms, he planted them out of season. But in spite of this, every single one of them gave fruit. My dear friends, look at the passion and the love for the deen. How many years this individual was looking for haqq, looking for the truth. How many miles he traveled looking for haqq. How many years he stayed in the service of people looking for haqq. How fortunate you are. How fortunate you are. You were born as a Muslim. By the grace of Allah, your father was a Muslim. Your mother is a Muslim. Your grandparents were Muslims. Your great-grandparents were Muslims. And hopefully, inshallah, your children and your grandchildren will be Muslims. If there's anything that we can learn from this, my dear friends, is value the iman that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. How fortunate you are to receive this gift. Inna Allah Azza wa Jal, إِذَا أَحَبَّ عَبْدًا أَعْطَاهُ الْإِيمَانِ. This iman, Allah doesn't give it to just anyone. Ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. how many tears he shed and how much he cried for the Iman of Abu Talib. Day and night the Prophet ﷺ tried, and he invited, and he invited, and he invited. So much so that Abu Talib was on his last breath. And again the Prophet ﷺ tried. Abu Talib, just say La ilaha illallah. Abu Talib, just say La ilaha illallah. That will give me an excuse to intercede for you on the day of judgment, my friends. And still, Abu Talib did not declare the kalima. And the verse of the Quran was revealed. O Muhammad, إِنَّكَ لَا تَحْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْ إِنَّكَ لَا تَحْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْ. Muhammad, you can't guide anyone. You can't guide who you like, who you love, who you wish. إِنَّكَ لَا تَحْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَحْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Guidance is in the hands of Allah, and He gives it to who He wishes. إِذَا أَحَبَّ عَبْدًا أَعْطَاهُ الْإِيمَانِ. When Allah loves an individual, this is when Allah gives him the gift of Iman. And every single one of you that is in this gathering, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, my young friends. This is why He's given you and me Iman. And we need to value this Iman. We need to preserve and protect this Iman by refraining from evil and sin, because evil and sin is detrimental to Iman. Every time you commit evil, you turn to sin, your heart becomes black. There's a black dot on your heart. You make tawbah, it's clean. You don't make tawbah, you commit a sin, the stain gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The more sins that you commit, it gets to a stage, my young friend, where it becomes rust. The whole heart becomes black. After this, it gets to a stage, my young friends, where the heart is sealed. Now, my young friends, when the heart is sealed, the shaitan plays with you as he wishes and desires. Now it gets to a stage where nothing will enter. You will become blind. You will not be able to understand simple, basic things. Just like billions of people today, my friends, they've reached the moon and beyond. They've reached Mars and beyond. At this moment in time, they're looking at ways of how to mine materials on different planets and bring them back to Earth. They're looking at ways of how they can set colonies on Mars, colonies on Moon. What they cannot see, that only Allah is one. And still, they have so many gods. God for every single day of the week, my young friends. And they bow down and prostrate. Allah is not the eyes that see. Allah makes the eyes see. Allah makes the heart see. And if Allah doesn't guide, my young friends, you can have so much intellect that you can get to Mars and beyond. But you cannot see something as simple as this, that there is only one being that created this universe. You are here. This is Iman. This is Sirati Mustaqim. And this is the path that you and I need to stick to and adhere. To the right, this is the boundary of kufr. To the left, this is the boundary to kufr. My young friends, these are the gunas to kufr. We need to adhere to the straight path. We cannot deviate. The more you deviate, a time will come when you will reach the limit. Then a time will come when you will surpass that limit. And when you surpass that limit, my young friends, you are now not worth anything. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرَ إِن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. Allah will never, once you surpass this boundary, Allah will never forgive the sin of kufr and shirk. Balki, this is the difference between salvation, success, and failure. وَمَن يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ الْجَنَّةِ. Whoever associates partners with Allah, Jahannam becomes haram for him. وَمَأْوَاهُ النَّارِ. His abode is the fire of hell. On the day of judgment, if he comes to Allah and he offers the world 1,000,000,000 times over in gold, the world in gold, how much do you think it'll be worth? Billions, trillions, zillions, centillions. The human mind cannot even put a price to it. I'm saying not one world worth of gold, 1,000,000,000 worth dunyas in gold. He offers it to Allah and says, "Oh Allah, I beg you, take this, take my children, take my family members, take all those in the dunya and set me free from this punishment." فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمْ مِلْءُ الْأَرْضِ ذَهَبٌ وَلَوِ افتضى. Nothing will be accepted, because this is the difference between failure and success, heaven and hell. This is the value of the blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to you and me. Failure in the dunya and failure in the akhirah. Today, many youngsters, because of all these attractions, rather than adhering to the straight path, they're wavering. They see the likes of Ronaldo's, the Kardashians, and people like this, and the way they dress, the way they talk, the way their mindset is. So they want to move away from this and adopt another culture. My friends, you do what you like. You will get nowhere in the dunya, and you will get nowhere in terms of the akhirah. You will get nowhere in the dunya, and you will get nowhere in the akhirah. At this moment in time, my friends, you know as well as I, there's a war going on. The Russians have invaded Ukraine. There's a great lesson to be learned from this war. There are many lessons. One lesson that I've learned is I need to stick to my roots, because what Allah has given me is everything. I need to stick to my roots. What Allah has given me is everything. Even if I deviate to please others, I will gain nothing. But okay, never mind gaining anything. Even if I send my iman, I will never be accepted. We were growing up and there was the war of Bosnia, the former Yugoslavia. Many of you remember that are my age. The Bosnians were whiter than white. I'm still half cooked. Yeah? But the Bosnians were whiter than white. If you look at them, mashallah, beautiful eyes, beautiful white skin. My question is, why were they slaughtered? They were whiter than white. In terms of their a'mal, the Bosnians and Serbians, there was no difference. In terms of their looks and the color of their faces, there was no difference. In terms of their languages, there wasn't much difference. In terms of their culture, there was not much difference. In terms of their clothing, there was not much difference. Then I ask you, why did massacres like Srebrenica take place? Why were they slaughtered? Why? Simply this. One of them, their roots go back to Islam, their forefathers were Muslim. And the other, their roots don't go back to Islam. Even today, look what's happening. Look what's happening. Look at the double standards. You don't need to tell me. I don't need to tell you this. Look at all the reports that are coming up on the media and the articles that you're reading. Putin has invaded Ukraine. First of all, guys, before I say what I'm going to say, let me tell you, I'm not on Putin's side. As Muslims, we will always side with those that are oppressed. Those that are being oppressed. These are the teachings of our deen. As Muslims, we will never and we should never have double standards. treat one people like this and treat another people like this. As Muslims, we believe in justice for all. In Islam, there is no superiority. What was the last khutbah that the Prophet ﷺ delivered in the khutbah in Hajjatul Wada? لا فضل لعربي على عجمي. There's no superiority of an Arab over a non-Arab. There's no superiority of a non-Arab over an Arab. There's no superiority of a black man over a white man. There's no superiority of a black man over a white man. In Islam, يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل. You are all the sons of Adam, you are all equal. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Where does superiority come from? Taqwa, piety, humility. When a person gives himself to Allah and becomes Allah, this is where superiority comes. When they're looking at the color of your skin, the language that you speak, whether you're Baruchi, whether you're Surti, whether you're Mirpuri, whether you're Pakistani, Pathan, there is no superiority. These are our beliefs as Muslims. So for me, whether it's Putin and nobody, when it comes to Muslims, nobody's hamdard. Nobody's hamdard when it comes to Muslims. I mean, look at the track record of Russia, the former USSR. What did they do? What happened to the Muslims that were living there? In Uzbekistan, in Tajikistan, in all these places. How difficult the Muslims survived. How much persecution. How they would, hide and recite the Quran and preserve the Quran. But okay, just recently in the 19th century, 20th century, Stalin and what he did to the Tatars, the Muslim community in Crimea, they were expelled. They just came back recently after USSR collapsed. So that's his track record. China doesn't get any better. Look at the Uyghurs. Toba, Toba. You can't even begin to imagine that in the 21st century there'll be this level of persecution and the world will be blind to it. With all this social media and news. And, the West, mashallah, and what happened in, Iraq and Sham and, what happened in Rohingya and, there's no one, when it comes to Muslims, there is no hamdardi. So to me, they're all the same. But the point that I'm making is, and this is a message for those, mashallah, that are deviating, from the asal, and may feel that, will be accepted. Which world are you living in? Can you not see what others can see and what Allah is revealing and is a source of mercy? Look at all these reports that came in. Look at the double standards. I'm not for the invasion, but look at the double standards. For Ukraine, these are civilized people, the reports. Meaning, the others, the Syrians, the Iraqis, the Afghanis, none of them are civilized. These are well-to-do people. They're white, with green eyes, just like any neighbor that you may have living next to you. And then look at the sanctions overnight. Crazy sanctions. And again, I'm not saying, the point is, I'm not talking about whether I agree or disagree. That's not the point that I'm making. What I'm looking at is the double standards. Overnight, phenomenal sanctions that will cripple Russia. The big rich people, within a week of those sanctions, lost $80 billion. In 1 week of their combined wealth, they lost $80 billion. My question is, look at the zulm in Kashmir for the last 60, 70 years. Where's the sanctions? The zulm in Iraq, the zulm in Burma, where's the sanctions? The zulm in Palestine for over 70 years, every single day. Zulm on pensioners, they spare no one, not even the children. Where's the sanctions? But okay, who were the sanctions put on? Who suffered as a result of the sanctions in Palestine? The 6 million Muslims that live in Gaza. The Muslim. You know, it's in international law that no country can annex anyone's land. So going by international law, what Putin is doing is zulm. But why doesn't that apply in Palestine? Why don't people talk about Palestine in the same manner? Every single day they're taking some, but Palestine belonged. Forget what they're doing every single day. Palestine belonged to a people, and it was given by others to others. And now, even after this, every single day, people's land is being confiscated, their houses are being confiscated. You know, Muslims are not allowed to resist occupation. This is what we're learning. Anywhere, if a Muslim resists occupation, he's deemed as a terrorist. But at this moment in time in Ukraine, they're lionizing those that are resisting the occupation. Muslim resists, he's a terrorist. If you read the papers and listen to the news, you know the women that were making cocktail bombs, Molotov cocktail bombs. If you look at the news and the media, brave women. You know the guy that committed suicide, blew himself up. Yeah, heroic. And anywhere else in the world, Muslim world, what would it be? Terrorists. You can't even give aid. How many Muslim charities, like anyone goes, gives aid to these countries is on the watch list? How many businessmen, their accounts have been frozen or closed without any information from HSB and other accounts because they're known to donate to causes like this? How many Muslim charities, their accounts are frozen or they're having a hard time in keeping their accounts open because they go work in these countries and just give aid, help in a good manner, not going down for anything else. And here, foreign minister is encouraging people to go to Ukraine and fight the Russians. But on LBC radio, they were talking about sending the Mujahideen to fight the Russians. But up to now, you and I were taught one thing, that the Mujahideen are terrorists. So it doesn't make sense. You know, there was a thing called no politics in sport. No politics in sport. And that applied to the Palestinians and the Uyghurs. What happened to Celtic, the football club? What happened to Mesut Ozil and his sponsors? And now all of a sudden, in Russia, the Champions League is being moved from Russia to France. All the qualifying games for the World Cup, nobody wants to play. The Russians, but even bichare, the people that are less able have been banned from the Paralympics. The point that I'm making is, why are some people looked at and treated in a particular way, and some people looked at, treated in a different way? All because of the color of their skin and the religion that they follow. Poland, a few years ago, didn't want to take any refugees. At this moment in time, Poland has taken 1.6 million refugees. They're asking for them. What's the difference? You know, a few years ago, they were from Syria, they were from Afghanistan. They were Muslims and they were brown or black in color. And at this moment in time, they're Christians and they're white in color. Why did Brexit take place? Why were people voting for Brexit? Because they wanted to put an end to all foreigners coming into the country. Okay? And all these foreigners were from Afghanistan, Iraq, places like this. And today, they're talking about what? Taking them inside your houses. They're discussing taking them inside your houses. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. Okay, it's a good thing to have as Muslims. For us, it's a good thing to help the poor and house them. That's not my issue. What I can't get over is this. That, you know, our life, our blood has no value. And what did I say? It will not have any value even if you leave the deen. Listen very carefully to me. Even if you leave the deen, it will have no value. Why will it not have value if you leave your deen? Because you're still half-baked. You're still brown. Still black. Unfortunately. What's happening in Ukraine at this moment in time? What we see? Black Africans who are Christian, they're not even Muslim. They follow the same faith. Astaghfirullah, because of the color of their skins, they're not allowed to board on the trains. The priority is being given to white Ukrainians. So you will leave and you will divert and you will keep on going to the extent that you will surpass the boundary, God forbid. You will still never be accepted. So why would you lose the dunya and you will lose the akhirah? It's this inferiority complex that drives us. Is it Islam? Sayyidina Umar Farooq radiallahu anhu said these beautiful words. مهما نقلب العز بغير ما أعزنا الله أذلنا الله. Whenever you look for respect and honor in things other than Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will disgrace you. And that's exactly what is happening. We're looking for respect in things other than Islam, in other ways other than the way of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is why, in spite us being over 1 billion in number, we are غُثَاءٌ كَغُثَاءِ السَّيْلِ. We have no wealth. And this is why people are behaving towards us in a manner that they are. Because we consider ourselves worthless. Allah gave us Iman. Allah gave us Iman. There's nothing better than Iman. We regard this Iman of being worthless. You know, people that have something that is valuable, do they not protect it? Do they not protect it? Do they not preserve it? Anyone that has anything valuable, he protects it and he preserves it. And he doesn't allow any harm to come to that thing. Allah gave us this iman. It is the most valuable thing that anyone can ever have. And we have no value for it. Because we have no value for what we have and what we are. Nobody else has value for us as well and treats us like dirt and walks over us and swears at us and humiliates us, and there's nothing that we can do. You lose the dunya and you lose the akhirah. So wouldn't it be wise, value the iman that Allah has given, protect and preserve, adhere to the path and do good, live like kings in the dunya and live like kings in the akhirah. وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُم فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِهِمْ. Look at the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Empires like Persia and Rome, just like you have the Russians today and the Americans, great powers today, and the Chinese. Now these two empires rule the whole world. But what happened when they met the Muslims? They melted like snow melts under the hot sun before them. And every battle, they were defeated. The seas gave way. And there were times when the Muslims walked on water like they walked on soft sand. And they conquered the world. Allah gave them izzat. Allah gave them respect. Allah gave them the dunya, and Allah promised them that He will give them the akhirah. This is what we can learn from the story of Sayyidina Salman Farsi radiallahu ta'ala. This is just the introduction. The bayan hasn't begun. I haven't started explaining the hadith. So I'll just let you know, guys. Second point. Obviously, you guys will say, oh, he's come to explain, talk about Ramadan. But he's not talking about Ramadan, so I'm going to talk a bit about Ramadan. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the most I'm going to get done, boys, is probably, I started about 8:16, 8:17, so it's 9:11. About another 5 minutes to go and it's an hour. Okay, so there's no way on God's earth I'm going to do this hadith today. But okay, if we're here till Fajr, I don't think it's going to finish. Yeah. So I'm going to do whatever I can. The whole objective, guys, is whatever we learn, however little it may be, we pay heed, we act upon, and bring that teaching in our lives. Not just having, this much knowledge and you act upon nothing. Real knowledge is ma'rifat. And if a person doesn't have ma'rifat, he doesn't have anything. And all these, awliyaullah and all these people from early years, that was the difference between them and us. They had ma'rifat, they had iman, and they had yaqeen. This is why the heaven and earth gave way to them. Whereas we don't have the iman, that yaqeen, and amal. Now the Prophet ﷺ, he delivered this khutbah. It says here, في آخر يوم من شعبان, on the last day of Sha'ban. General practice of the Prophet ﷺ was that he would deliver khutbah when? On a Jummah. 2 khutbahs before Jummah namaz. And he would deliver khutbah on Eid, 2 khutbahs after Eid Salah. Other than this, whenever there was a need, there was something important to discuss or explain to the Sahaba, the Prophet ﷺ would resort to the minbar and deliver khutbah. For example, when Sayyidina Tamim al-Dari radiallahu ta'ala came to the Prophet ﷺ, and he was a Christian and he embraced Islam. He came to the Prophet ﷺ and he told the Prophet ﷺ how he and 30 other people from the tribe of Lakhm and Judam went on a journey, a ship, a boat, a sea journey, and how because of bad weather they ended up at an island, and on this island they met the Dajjal. So it's a very long hadith. Prophet ﷺ on that day after namaz said to the Sahaba, لِيَلْزِمْ كُلُّ إِنسَانٍ مُصَلَّى. No one has permission to go, I want you to all stay in your place. And then the Prophet ﷺ related the story of Tamim al-Dari radiallahu ta'ala and then said, "O my companions, did I not also give you an account like this? Did I not also tell you the same things that Tamim al-Dari radiallahu ta'ala told me that what he witnessed?" Likewise, on one occasion, the Prophet ﷺ in the days of Jahiliyyah, what used to happen was, when there was an eclipse, a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, people used to think that this happens because somebody Azim, somebody great has either been born or has either died. It so happened that at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, his son Ibrahim died and there was an eclipse. So the people felt that today the eclipse has taken place because Ibrahim, the son of Muhammad, has passed away. Prophet ﷺ resorted to the minbar. إِنَّ الشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ لَا يَنْكَسِفَانِ لِمَوْتِ أَحَدٍ وَلَا لِحَيَاتِهِ. That these eclipses don't take place because somebody big has been born or somebody big has died. وَلَكِنَّهُمْ آيَاتَانِ مِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ. They're signs from the sign of Allah. Through these signs, Allah scares His people. You still got time. Turn to me, make ruju, make ruju. When you see these signs, the Prophet ﷺ said, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what the Prophet ﷺ would do. So here, the Prophet ﷺ resorted to the minbar on the last day of Sha'ban to explain the importance of Ramadan. So not a single second of Ramadan goes to waste, because Ramadan is not an ordinary month. It is a very, very, very special month. Now that's a different thing, my friends, that you and I today, astaghfirullah, like I said, we don't realize the value of Iman where there's nothing that can equal it. What can equal Iman? 7 heavens and earth. You know how big the 7 heavens are? The human mind cannot even comprehend the enormity. The sun is one star. It's thousands of times bigger than the earth. There are billions and billions of stars make galaxies. Billions or billions of galaxies make what? One universe. At the moment they're talking about multiverses. This is all within the first heaven. How big do you think the 7 heavens are? Put it in one pan of the balance, and Iman, La ilaha illallah, in the second, it will outweigh it. This is the value of Iman. We don't have value for Iman. Where are we going to have value of Ramadan? My young friends, when I grew up by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and my elders will tell me, because their era was better than mine. And our era, when we were growing up, is a lot better than what we're seeing and witnessing today. By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ramadan, it was phenomenal. Everyone realized the value of Ramadan. Even those that would normally spend their days and night sinning, disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But as soon as Ramadan kicked in, they were different people. People that used to drink, all of a sudden, they'd put an end to it in the month of Ramadan. People that were known to go to nightclubs on Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, and different bird for different day of the week. Come Ramadan, it would stop. People that would never pray, come Ramadan, it would stop. People that would shave, come Ramadan, in the month of Ramadan, they would stop shaving. There was no such thing as not fasting. When I grew up, by the grace of Allah, the fast that we used to keep were those in August. The 20-hour ones. And I can still remember I was 6, 7 years of age. You know, you never saw anyone not fasting. But okay, sure, I mean, us by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we would fast those fasts at the age of 6, 7, 20-hour fast. You know, our parents used to encourage us that you get a treat, buy whatever you like at the end of it. And khushi ke saath, without that roza having any impact on us, you know, feeling any difficulty, we used to love to fast. We used to love to get up to Sahri. We used to love to go, you know, to Tarawees. But where will you see that today? Where will you see that today? How many people you will see not fasting? And I'm not talking about those that are ma'adu. I'm not talking about those that have an excuse. Hatte katte nojawan, 6'6", makes Arnold Schwarzenegger look stupid because of his biceps, mashallah, and his size. And he's struggling to fast. He's knocking $10, you know, openly, and there's no, you know, shar wa haya. Oh, if he doesn't eat in this area, he'll go to a different area. But at our times, none of these shops will be open, ever be open, because the shopkeeper, the cafe owner would know that he's not going to get a single customer in Ramadan, because every single believer will be fasting. And today, openly people are coming gana. You know, dope sellers are still selling dope openly, not bothered. Zina openly, they're not bothered. Ramadan, you know, puffing away, split, they're not bothered. That's because we don't realize the value of Ramadan. You know, if you and I realize the value of Ramadan, I swear by His name, and inside the house of Allah, you would perform itikaf, not just for the last 10 days. As soon as you saw the moon, you would make your way to the masjid, and you would not leave till the day of Eid. You would not leave till the day of Eid. Let me give you an example. If I were to say to you guys today, next week, Friday, I'm going to give out diamonds. Next week, Friday, put it in your diary, boys. I'm this multi-billionaire. Bill Gates is nothing to me. I can buy 1 billion Bill Gates. That's the type of guy I am. Just make dua that Allah makes me like that so I can give it to you. You know, you're making dua for me. So I'm one of these guys who's, you know, got these billions and billions and billions of pounds. So I make an announcement now that, you know what, next Friday, for a week, in this masjid, Tayyiba Masjid, I'm going to give out diamonds. These diamonds are worth crazy amounts of money. My question to you guys is, how many people do you think would come to Tayyiba Masjid next Friday? How many people? Forget next Friday. You know, if I took an oath now, I don't think I'll do Hanif. I don't think any one of you will leave. Friday, you got Sunday, you got Monday, you got Tuesday, you got Wednesday, you got Thursday. There's another 6 days. I can't see anyone going home now, because you know what's going to happen. Yeah? But okay, you'll sit here now while I'm talking, yeah? While I'm talking, showing that you've got no interest in the dunya, and you're sending WhatsApp messages to your wives, your sons, your daughters, boys, get here now. Yeah? There's diamonds for free. Yeah? And all they will come now. How long do you think this masjid, before this masjid is full? 5 minutes? How many people do you think will come to this masjid? The whole of Bolton. I can say that without doubt. Whether he's a believer or whether he's a non-believer, it's for free. There's no strings attached. The whole of Bolton will be here. The whole of Bradford will be here. The whole of Lancashire will be here. The whole of England will be here. My young friend, people from the Amazon will come here. People from the Kalahari bush will come here. The people from Alaska, the North Pole, will come here. Diamonds for free. They can't get into the masjid. What do you think they'll do? They'll start queuing outside. They'll start queuing up. They won't just queue up outside. They'll fight with one another. They'll fight with one another. Okay? So they'll start queuing up outside and they're waiting. And it's freezing. Do you think it'll bother them? It won't bother them. It's going to start raining. Do you think it'll bother them? No. If it starts snowing, do you think it'll bother them? No. Thunderstorms? No. They need to eat something. Do you think they'll leave the queue? Will you leave the masjid? No, because you know you're not getting back in. Because now all of a sudden you'll say to yourself, yeah, I eat every day anyway. Okay? You need to relieve yourself. You're in the queue outside, what are you going to do? Take a few pants, turn around. You won't even go home. And you're waiting for Friday. Friday comes, and I'm actually giving these diamonds out. And they're limitless. Yeah. How many will you take? You know, one diamond is sufficient. It can pay for 10 of the houses in Bolamaki, 100. It can pay for 10 houses in Bolan and Ramadan. One diamond. Will you just be content with the one? How many will you take? When will you leave the mosque? Let me tell you, you won't leave the mosque till I don't put an end to it on the 7th day. I've said I'm giving them out for 7 days. You will not leave the mosque for 7 days. You'll take, and you'll take as many as you can. Because now your aql works, you see. Inside your heart and mind, you're thinking, you know what? You don't get opportunities like this. This is once in a lifetime. But you don't even get an opportunity like this in any life. You never heard of this opportunity from your granddad, your great-granddad, right from Adam alayhi salam. You will have never heard of this. Okay? So this opportunity doesn't come, and you will take advantage of this opportunity. You will sacrifice your sleep. You will sacrifice your food. You will sacrifice your wife. You will sacrifice your children. You will sacrifice all your desires, and you'll stay in the house of Allah, and you'll collect, and you'll collect, and you'll collect. And when I stop giving, this is the day you'll go and you'll say, you know what? Now I'll do aram. Now I'll share. You realize the value of your dunya. Not just in this example. Every day you realize the value of your dunya. You know, you work. Many of us, mashallah, if you were to work on your own accord, it would be sufficient. That's how our fathers used to do it. That's how our grandfathers used to do it. Mashallah, before this, our women, they were like queens inside their houses. Men, we used to provide for them. And we used to look after them. But now it's not sufficient. Now it's not sufficient. You'll send your wife out to work. But again, we've dropped that law that you won't even marry your daughter off till the age of 35. Why? Because she's on a good work and she's giving it to you and she's paying all the bills. In spite of this, what will we do on a weekend? We'll work. Why? Because it's time and a half. Bank holidays, Christmas, it's double time and we'll work. My friends, what Allah offers in Ramadan is far greater than this. It's far greater than all the diamonds that you can collect and accumulate when I'm distributing those diamonds. The human mind, my friends, we cannot put a value to Iman. Yeah, who can weigh the 7 heavens and the earth? Who can weigh them? And that Iman is far more valuable. The human mind cannot even begin to comprehend what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him if he turns to his master, his Khaliq and Malik in this blessed month. Prophet ﷺ realized the value of Ramadan. Why do you think he delivered this khutbah on the last day of Sha'ban? Because the Prophet ﷺ couldn't afford for himself, for any of us, to allow 1 second of Ramadan to go to waste. Prophet ﷺ himself used to excel, increase his worship in Ramadan. His face would become pale. His rakats would become longer. His fear would increase. In his du'as and namaz, he become more humble. Why was there a need for the Prophet ﷺ to increase his worship in the month of Ramadan? I ask you, my young friends, wasn't he Sayyid al-Awwaleen wal-Akhirin? Leader of the former, leader of the latter. Is he not Sayyid Wuldi Adam Yawm al-Qiyamah, leader of the whole of mankind on the Day of Judgment? Does he not come second to the Almighty Allah? Is he not Shafi'ul Mudhnibeen? The one, as a result of whose intercession, millions and millions of people will be taken out of Jahannam and be given paradise. My young friends, if Jannah was created for any one individual, then it was created for none other than the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and he will be the first to enter. Why was there a need for him to exert himself in the month of Ramadan? So much so that he would tie his lungi. Now there's no messing around. You know when a person is going to do some work, yeah, he'll tie his lungi so it doesn't get in the way, so he can exert himself. He would tie his lungi, he would stay away from his wives. He would stay awake during the night, he would awaken them. He would resort to the house of Allah. Not just in the house of Allah, he would seclude himself in a hujrah in the house of Allah. Now his focus was upon Allah and nothing else. Bearing in mind, my young friends, bearing in mind, you know, his normal days. What would he do on his normal day? This is not you and I that we're talking about. Prophet ﷺ used to work for who? Allah. What was his job? Guiding mankind. His work day and night, 24/7. It wasn't 9 to 5. Everything that he did was the deen. Bear this in mind. Everything that he did was the deen. On top of that, كَانَ يَذْكُرُ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ أَحْيَانِهِ. Every single second his heart would remember Allah. His heart wouldn't sleep. On top of this, my young friends, sometimes his worship was such that he would spend the entire night in prostration. Sometimes he would worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much, the hadith is حَتَّى تَوَرَّبَتْ قَدَمَاهُ, that his feet would begin to swell. You know, your feet are not going to swell if you just stand in prayer like you and me for 5 minutes. You're going to have to stand for hours and hours, days on end, for your feet to start swelling. Sometimes he would recite the whole Surah Baqarah in 1 rakah. Surah Baqarah. Can you imagine if Imam Sahib did that Surah Baqarah? Can you imagine if your Imam read Surah Baqarah, what would happen? He wouldn't even get to Ya ayyuhan nasu u'budu rabbakum alladhi, and somebody would pop him from behind. Happy Christmas. See you in the next life. Not just Surah Baqarah. After that, Ali Imran. After that, Nisa. With tarteen and tajweed, every letter could be heard. All of it in just 1 rakah. And then the ruku was as long as the qiyam. Then the qawma was as long as the ruku. Then the sajda was as long as the qawma. The sitting in between the sajda was long as the sajda. This was 1 rakah. And you know when he would recite, if he came across a verse of Jannah, he'd ask for Jannah. If he came across a verse of Jahannam, he would ask for protection. How long do you think a namaz like that took during the night? This was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Bearing this in mind, my young friends, why did his worship increase more than this? in the month of Ramadan. But okay, my friends, there are times when he sat ittikaf the whole month. First Ashura he sat ittikaf. Then he sat ittikaf for the second Ashura. Then he took his head out from the tent and said to the Muslims, I sat in ittikaf looking for a certain night. I was informed it's in the last Ashura. So whoever performed ittikaf with me should remain in ittikaf for the last Ashura, because this blessed night is in this last Ashura. Why did the Prophet do this? Because, my new friends, this month is like no other month. And the return that you will get in this month is not like the return that you will get any other time. You know, this month is for people like me. What am I referring to? It's for sinners like me. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful and the most kind. I'm His makhluk, you're His makhluk. And there is nothing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves more than His makhluk. You know, every single one of us, we love things that belong to us. You're driving whether you're driving for those of you that are from my area, a Toyota Corolla or a Nissan Datsun Sunny, okay? Or whether you drive a Lamborghini. You know, in those days we used to polish, the Datsun 120Ys. Because it's mine. It's mine. I put a lot of effort behind it. I've sweated to buy it. Just like people polish their Lamborghinis. Why? Because it belongs to them. You value the thing that you own. You love your wife because you have a connection there. You love your children because you have a connection there. Even though these connections are very weak, you've either purchased them or you're connected to them. You don't actually make the car, bring it into being. Whereas, my young friends, you and I are Allah's creation. He created us with His own hands. And Allah knows His makhluk better than we know ourselves. Just like, Toyota, when it manufactures a car, it knows everything about the car. It'll know how long before the tires you're going to need a new one. It's going to know how long before you need a new gearbox. It's going to know how long before the engine's going to kaput. Because Toyota's made that car. Allah knows you and Allah knows me. He knows us better than us. He knows sometimes our desires will get the better of us. Sometimes the shaitan will get the better of us. And we will turn to evil and sin. Allah doesn't want us to perish. Allah, my young friends, loves us so much that in spite of our evil and wrongdoing, He's given us opportunities to make amends for that wrongdoing and evil. It's what I call boosters. Allah's placed times and places that if you make ruju to Allah at those times in those places, the life of sin that you've lived, no matter how many gunas that you've committed, within seconds you can make amends of it. And He'll wipe all your guna and you will excel in terms of your good deeds. For example, look, you read namaz here all your life. Okay? And you go to the haram and read one namaz. What's the difference? What's the difference? 50,000 nekiyam for reading namaz in which masjid? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How many in Masjid al-Haram? 100,000 in comparison to Masjid al-Nabawi. In comparison to, not to here, this is a holy place. In comparison to Masjid al-Nabawi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How much sawab do you think that is? All your life you can read namaz here. And you read that one namaz in the haram. One namaz in the haram, you can get more reward. Allah loves His makhluk. And Allah gives them the opportunities to make amends of the evil and the sin that he commits. Likewise, there are times, my young friends, for those that sin during the day, Allah's placed for them the night, the latter part of the night. You make a ruju, you turn to Allah, you ask Allah to purify you, and Allah will make you clean just like the day your mother gave you birth. But some of us still don't pay heed, and we don't make ruju and turn to Allah on a night, and we keep sinning on a Monday, on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, on a Thursday. Allah out of His mercy has made Jummah. Allah has made Jummah a very blessed day. This is the day Adam was created. This is the day he died. This is the day he was admitted into Jannah. This is the day he was taken up from Jannah. On Jummah, there's a time, there's a gadi. Whatever you make, whatever you ask for at that time, whenever you make a ruju to Allah at that time, whatever you ask for, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you it. Again, there's an opportunity to make amends. But then there are people like me. Friday will come, Friday will go, and our desires will get the better of us. Astaghfirullah, the shaitan will get the better of us. And we don't turn to Allah and we'll make guna, we'll make guna, we'll make guna. Allah loves His makhluk. He still didn't let us go to waste. Allah gave us opportunities throughout the year. You have the 10 days of Zul Hijjah. You have the day of Arafat. How many souls does Allah set free on that day from Jahannam? How many souls? You have the 15th of Sha'ban coming next week, take advantage. You can make the ruju. And then there's the month of Ramadan. And then there are those like me, even in Ramadan, don't know the value. And will commit on the first sin on the first day, the second, the third, the fourth. The Ashra will pass. But people like me, Allah's placed Laylatul Qadr. My young friends, you know, in Ramadan, it goes crazy. Crazy. Allah puts up a phenomenal sale. Phenomenal. Mind-boggling. We all love sales. We all love offers. I mean, look what happens. When Morrison, you get buy one, get one free. Morrison, buy one, get one free. What will happen? Pampers are on offer, buy one, get one free. Mr. Ali will walk in with a trolley. And he'll walk out with a trolley full of Pampers. Mrs. Ali will walk in. Have to do it in a dignified way. Normally Mr. Ali and Mrs. Ali will go together. So this time Mrs. Ali will walk in. And she'll walk in and take a trolley full of Pampers and walk out. Baby Ali will walk in. Son, here's your 20 quid. That's the section that you're going. They're blue in colour. The kid can't even read. That's how small he is. Yeah? Get them. You're going to need them. And he'll go in. And if you've got another little baby, you'll send him in as well. Because you can see, you want to maximize your return. Whilst you think they've got pound stretcher to stretch the pound. You want to maximize what you're getting, you value for money they call it. Okay? Look what happens in the Christmas sales. People go crazy. They shop before Christmas, right up to Christmas Day. On Christmas Day, you knock your turkey, white wine. Oh, none of you guys are doing that. And then the day hasn't even come to an end. And you're queuing outside for the Boxing Day sales. Snowing, you're not bothered. And look what happens when the doors open. People are rushing. And those that can't get anything, they're stealing it and taking it from other people's trolleys, and people are fighting over it. Again, what you're saving, what, 50 quid, 100 quid, if that? But again, look at your mindset. It's what you're getting in return. My young friends, what Allah offers in Ramadan is far greater than this. It's not buy one, get one free. It's not even buy one, get two free. It's not even buy one, get 3 free. It's not even buy one, get 5 free. It's not even buy one, get 10 free. My young friends, in Ramadan, it's buy one and get 70 free. Buy one and get 70 free. It gets better. It gets better. On the night of power, you make ruju and you turn to Him. He'll give you more than a lifetime of reward. خير من ألف شهر. ألف شهر, 83 months. Sorry, 83 years. 80 plus years. Most of us pop by the age of 60, but again, most of us are popping nowadays because of all these heart attacks well before that. So it's a lifetime. You make ruju to Allah just on one night, He's prepared to give you the reward of a lifetime. My question is, how more easier can your Khaliq and your Malik make it for you and me? You know, we read every single day, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. This is Ar-Rahman, this is Ar-Rahim. Just give Him an excuse to give you paradise. Just give Him an excuse to give you paradise. This is the month of Ramadan. My young friends, if a person cannot, unfortunately guys, I haven't even started the hadith, and I'm finishing without even starting it. MashaAllah, Mawlana is here, and that'll be adult. And inshallah, you will not be disappointed. But if a person cannot attain the mercy of Allah in the month of Ramadan, if a person cannot be purified and forgiven when so much mercy descends and so much Allah is prepared to give, then when will this person acquire or attain Allah's mercy, and when will this person receive maghfirat and forgiveness? When? My young friends, there's a few days left. Sha'ban, before you know it, will come to an end. Prophet ﷺ didn't used to start in Ramadan. He used to start preparations in Sha'ban. If you look at the hadith, majority of Sha'ban, the Prophet ﷺ used to fast. Why? So when Ramadan comes, he's in, and not a second single goes to waste. And that's what the best do. You know, all these athletes, whether it's Mike Tyson, whether it's MMA, what's the name? Habib, people like this, Floyd Mayweather. Do you think they just turn up to a world final championship? Do you think they just turn up to a, Usain Bolt? Do you think he just turns up, hey boys, I've got a world championship today, race, I'm going to start running? Do you think it's not what he does? You just had a fight recently, who was it? One of your boys, Amir Khan against Cal Brooks. Don't want to comment. Do you think he just turned up? Again, I bet you guys, just to say he isn't, probably say he just turned up on the day. But he didn't. How many days or weeks or months before that were they training? Why were they training? So when that day comes, they're able to make a difference and get the maximum return that they can get. They can succeed. This is why they put the hours in before that. They don't just wake up on the day, boom, 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 start running or start boxing. So my young friends, this is why the Prophet ﷺ, to teach us, before Ramadan, he used to start fasting in Sha'ban. So when Ramadan kicks in, it's a piece of cake, and the performance is to perfection. So my young friends, if you want to make a difference this Ramadan, start Bismillahing it from Monday. Monday the Prophet ﷺ used to fast. Start Bismillahing it from Monday. You know the amals that you're going to do in Ramadan. Yeah, the amals that you're going to do in Ramadan, start Bismillahing it from Monday. The namazes, make sure you're reading them on time. Start fasting. Start reading your tahajjud. Start reading the Quran. Start, giving the sadaqat. Start reading the tahajjud. Start booking your holidays for i'tikaf. Guys, it's 9:40 now. I'm just going to call it a day. Allah give me the tawfiq. Allah give you the tawfiq. And please, do not forget me in your du'as. Whether it's Ramadan or whether it's outside of Ramadan. Ramadan is for the taking. Prophet ﷺ said, you know what? Allah looks at your competition in this month. Allah looks at your competing one another in doing good in this month. And then Allah boasts to the angels about you. To the angels, what did they say? Allah, you're going to place this guy in the dunya? We glorify, we praise. This guy is going to commit evil and spread corruption and fitna and fasad and guna. You're sending these guys? So when you worship Allah, you pray, you give zakat, you give sadaqat, you prostrate, you humble yourself before Allah. Allah boasts. Are these the guys that you were talking about? Are these the guys you're talking about? The Prophet ﷺ said, show Allah you're good in this month. Show Allah you're good in this month. Allah give me tawfiq. Allah give you tawfiq. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.